Good morning, everybody. And Rob, you did get the first comment. I'll give you that one there. Good morning, Rob, Armando, and Luca. Thanks for being such early risers, running the ball today. Right in here as soon as I started the stream, eh? So it's just me today. Saul's out sick. So it's going to be just very conservative today. So get ready, Saul. You're going to cringe watching this replay later. That's my goal anyways, to make Saul a little bit aggravated when he rewatches it later. But anyways, we're going to start with something I thought was crazy because originally I was going to talk about Randy resigning right after yesterday's live stream. So if we had been streaming for another hour or two, we would have been able to catch that live unfold. I guess it had always happened. It already happened. Sorry. I was reading Jaw's comment there as I was talking. It happened right after the stream. Like, it, probably happened a little bit before we ended, but it wasn't in public knowledge until about noon that day. I believe they started off question period and everything. Like, they were talking about it. They seem to have known about it. And then it was announced not even an hour later on the mainstream news cycle. Oh, geez, I cannot talk today. So anyways, we're going to get into this. We got a lot to cover today. So we're going to start with Trudeau introducing a tax cut for like the first time ever is what I thought. I was just surprised. Since the child tax benefit, he hasn't really done much. And even that was a rebate. It's kind of like a return. Like, he hasn't really done actual cuts. He's always like, oh, I'll give you a little bit back. Like, that's pretty much his whole shtick here. So I wonder, what's going to happen here. But from what I understand, this is also something the NDP was demanding prior. And I know that right now the Liberals kind of have to do what the NDP wants them to do because of the Bloc saying that they will vote yes on a non-confidence. And I guess the Liberals don't want to take a chance on that. So that's why we're in this situation, and they're bringing a tax break. And like the Liberals usually do with things the NDP makes them do, they just own it like it was their idea all along. Like the dental care, like pretty sure every big thing they've done originally started from the NDP. Then the Liberals just kind of took it over, except for the child tax benefit. But anyways, let's get into this.
Today is a good day.
She's so short compared to him.
Sorry.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Vince's Market in Sharon, Ontario.
Quiet.
We're an independent grocer, and I'm a second-generation grocer. My name is Giancarlo Tremarchi. So myself and my father would like to welcome, obviously, our Prime Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister, and the fellow members of Parliament to our grocery store.
Good morning, Robin.
As an independent grocer, we're always looking for opportunities to provide value to our customers, and of course, the challenge with affordability has been one of those things that has been tough to handle and tough to convey to our customers. So we welcome the PM today for their announcements, and I'd like to welcome our MP, Tony Van Bynen.
Okay, we're going to skip past
Thank you very much, Giancarlo. Education that's had an influence. A trajectoire focus on building a solid foundation for a future promise. Thank you, Tony.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here today with all of you. Very excited to be here with the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, Chrystia, to talk about
Him rolling up his sleeves annoys you, Luca?
something we're doing on affordability.
They're cutting GST on eating out and activities. Like, I don't even think they're doing it on essential goods. They're trying to incentive. There's some story about a mom needing to take her daughter out for pizza once a week that Jagmeet Singh told. That's what I understand the base for this, how it all started. Like most Jagmeet Singh's policies.
Giancarlo, thank you so much for welcoming us here to Vince's. As a strong independent grocer, you've had a real impact on people's lives. You've also seen over the past years the challenges folks have faced, and we're glad to make a big announcement today. Tony, Francesco, it's great to be back in the region. Great to be here with all of you to talk about how we're going to make life more affordable for so many people. L'annonce qu'on fait aujourd'hui.
After you made it unaffordable for so many people.
Et dans l'intérêt, on est en train, c'est pour ça, les aînés enlever de la pression.
Sorry to you francophones, we skip past the French on this channel. We do not speak French here, unfortunately. We don't know how.
Contraire de la pression pour les delivery insulin, whether it's d'annoncer qu'on peut en faire encore plus. The programs that we're delivering, whether it's dental care, whether it's pharmacare with free insulin or free prescription contraceptives, whether it's more spaces and $10 a day child care that is saving families thousands of dollars, whether it's dental care that's taken huge pressures off of primarily seniors' budgets, but also others. These are things that are making a difference. But at the same time, Canadians are still struggling to get by. These elements have taken off pressures, but there is more to do. As the holidays approach, families, especially parents, are particularly worried. Canadians have been through a lot. They work hard. We see that.
Wouldn't it be Trudeau?
We've been able to get through the past couple of years. Everyone had to tighten their belts a little bit. And now we're going to be able to give a tax break for all Canadians. For 2 months, starting December 14th, we're going to remove the GST, HST from groceries. 100% of groceries, all groceries. We're going to remove the GST from restaurant meals, takeouts, fast food. Removing the GST from beer and wine. Removing the GST for essentials like kids' clothing, footwear, diapers, and toys. All tax-free. Removing the GST and HST. For 2 months.
So this is huge. If you're in a province that doesn't have PST, that means you're getting like a 15% tax break on groceries in New Brunswick and Newfoundland. If you're in BC and Manitoba, you're still going to have the 7% PST.
Canadians are going to get a real break on everything they do.
Yeah, so for you Nova Scotians, Ontarians, people from PEI, like you're getting a huge tax break on this, from what I understand. But if you're in BC, Manitoba, or Quebec, this isn't, and Saskatchewan, it's not going to be as much to you.
We also know that there's more we need to do.
Again, I feel like none of these policies ever benefit BC. You know, like the whole carbon tax rebate, all that stuff is just like, no, BC, you're broke enough. You can just stay broke.
Particularly for working Canadians. So if you worked in 2023 and earned up to $150,000, we're going to be sending you a check for $250 in just a few months. Our government can't set price of $50,000. Know that there's more we need to do, particularly for working Canadians. So if you worked in 2023 and earned up to $150,000, we're going to be sending you a check for $250 in just a few months.
What, are you just bribing people now?
Our government can't set prices at checkout, but we can put more money in people's pockets.
What is that going to do long term? Like, it's going to be nice in the short run. Everyone's going to be like, oh, free money. But what does that do in the long run? You're just going to make inflation worse. Like, geez, you know, just keep your money, you know, like just don't stop running the debt, stop spending. Good morning, Jason, the conservative guy. How's it going, buddy? Good morning, Jolene, as well. He brought the whole family out.
The Working Canadians rebate of $250, which will be sent to people in April. He's going to give people that relief they need. And the tax break over the next 2 months is going to help on the costs of everything as we approach the holidays, as we get into the new year. These are things that recognize that people are squeezed, and we're there to help. Money that will help people buy the things they need and save up for the things they want. And a final comment.
Yeah, we're going to get into the Polyev announcement after this as well. I just like to I like catching it right after so we can skip past the French. It's nothing more painful watching these announcements live and you have to just sit through the French.
Comment is that I really hope that all parties in the House get behind this so we can pass this quickly so that Canadians can get this relief as soon as December 14th. Merci beaucoup tout le monde d'être ici. Looking forward to taking your questions in a moment, but for now, I'm going to pass it over to someone who's been working very hard to deliver this support for Canadians, Chrystia Freeland, our Finance Minister.
Like, that's the thing is, like, this money's got to come from somewhere. Like, even if you pay those tax dollars, they already spent it all. They, like, you know, all your tax dollars aren't even covering up the debt right now. Like, you're just paying interest. That's it. So where is this money coming from, right? It's just going to rack up the debt even more, even if they've already taken that money from you and spent it.
Chrystia.
Thanks, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is a little bit taller than I am. Okay.
It's more like a Christmas economic death sentence in the long run. Like, this is just a huge deficit.
Well, I want to start by saying, buongiorno Giancarlo, grazie mille per l'accoglio. It is really wonderful to be here at Vince's. Si important, si vraiment moyen, l'enjeu de l'avortement. Had a chance, Tony, Francesco, and I had a chance to talk to Giancarlo. Tony and Francesco.
Okay, good to know, Jason, because I want to talk about Randy resigning too.
Know him well and know Vince's very well. And it was such a valuable window into the life of this community and also into the lives of Canadians. And what Giancarlo told us, you can see what has been happening in the Canadian economy at the checkout counter here at Vince's. He talked about how things were really hard for Canadians at the beginning of this year, that, inflation was coming down, but interest rates were still high. And that was...
Inflation wasn't coming down. It just slowed down. You know what I mean? Like, it went from, it just went down to 2% rate. I think that's it.
Really biting in the pocketbook, and he saw it with what people were able to afford to buy here. One thing that Giancarlo told us that I really loved is he said he could almost measure the trajectory of interest rates by what people were doing at the cash register here. And as rates have come down, people have been coming back into Vince's and have been able to spend a little bit more. So that story from Giancarlo makes him my favorite person of the day. Grazie mille. That's exactly what we know Canadians need. Canadians needed that relief. And the good news is, now that inflation is under control, it has been within the Bank of Canada's target range for 10 months in a row. That has allowed the bank to bring down rates, and that has created the space for us to provide a little more relief for hard-working Canadians. And so today we're announcing...
That's what I mean. It's like, they won't act the carbon tax, but they go do this. It's like, this is a huge deficit. Like, the GST cut and the HST cut with the giving money back to people. Like, how much is that going to all cost?
Two really important forms of support. The first you're going to see at the cash register here at Vince's and at grocery stores, at restaurants, at toy stores across the country. This is going to be about giving just a little bit of extra help to...
Yeah, it's temporary, which is fine to provide a temporary tax cut, but you also need to have a plan of like, hey, we're going to cut taxes and we're going to cut back this, and this so that there's not much of a difference. Like, you guys ever balanced a budget before? Like, it's not that difficult. Or at least, I don't know, maybe this is, well, obviously this is a way bigger budget than I've ever balanced. But however, it's like the idea that you're going to just put less in and take more out, and this is going to be good in the long run, is just stupid. Like, what are you doing? Like, why not just axe the carbon tax? Imagine if they axed the carbon tax. How much would that take away Poilievre's like fire? You know what I mean? If they wanted to really hit him, take away something that he's using very strongly, why not axe the carbon tax? Like, this is probably going to cost more in the long run. I feel like that's a lot of money to give back to people. Like, there's like over like 20 million working Canadians, $250 a pop. Like, that's like $5 million right there. Like, it's just, it seems like it will be a lot of money in the long run, especially with the tax cuts on top of it.
To families over the holidays from the middle of December to the middle of February. We are going to have a GST holiday on all prepared foods. So right now, some foods are not subject to GST, but prepared foods are. Things like a rotisserie chicken. Things like, if you have had a really busy day and you have to feed your kids at the end of the day, maybe you're tempted to go to the grocery store and pick up a prepared meal, but it's expensive. And on top of the extra cost of a prepared meal, you have to pay the GST. And Giancarlo has been telling us, he sees young working families wanting to buy those prepared meals, but sometimes they can't quite afford.
Yeah, he said something like that. And that's just so funny is had he said, we're planning on doing this instead, he could have handled that whole thing way better. I'm sorry, I'm talking to David O'Burrell here in the chat. He just said to the G7 Canadians can starve. Yeah, he said that basically the climate tax trumps living situation and living standards. He says the climate tax is more important, but essentially is what he said.
Afford it. Lifting the GST is going to make it that little bit easier. And it comes just in time for the holidays when people are going to want to be entertaining, are going to want to have people over. So prepared foods, lifting the GST. Restaurant meals, lifting the GST. That's going to include beer and wine, no GST. And Giancarlo does sell beer and wine here. So you're going to be able to do that at your grocery stores, your gas stations where beer and wine are available. And it's the holidays. So we're also lifting the GST on a carefully.
Yeah, roasts are ridiculous lately. Like my wife's boss bought a whole cow and gave us and all her coworkers huge chunks of beef. And I was saying to my wife, this is like the biggest bonus you've ever gotten. Like, this is crazy. Like, he gave us like 2 roasts and steaks. And like, I don't buy any of that anymore from the grocery store, like ever. Like, sometimes if it's on sale, I'll buy some. It's just too expensive. Like beef is like a luxury now, to have like, steak or a nice roast is more what I'm referring to. Not like ground beef, ground beef's pretty cheap, but, and I was just like, this is crazy. This is like hundreds of dollars worth of meat. It seems like, and I feel like years ago, this wouldn't have been that crazy, but nowadays it just means so much more, right?
Chosen basket of holiday gifts. Kids' clothes, diapers, car seats, kids' shoes. It includes things like like toques, like mitts for your kids, scarves. Also on toys for your kids, also on books and periodicals. So this is really about saying to Canadians, things have been hard. They are getting better. Our economy really looks like it is having a soft landing from the COVID recession. And this is about making life.
It's so funny. Look at the back. They put like a rotisserie chicken still in the package on a plate with like broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, and tomatoes. It's like, did no one come in and just make the food in the back look a little bit better?
A little bit easier because we have the space now to do it. Le deuxième annonce, c'est pour aider directement.
Yeah, that's how much it is, Jason. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's why when I saw like my wife's boss gave us 2 roasts and I think it was like 5 steaks and some sausages and a bunch of ground beef, and I was like, holy crap, this is worth a lot. Like, especially the roasts. I was like shocked, honestly.
Les Canadiens payés. Et le Premier ministre
I don't think I bought a roast in a few years.
$250 à chaque Canadien. 23 $50 Canadians are. This is about, these checks for $250 are about recognizing that working Canadians have been through some tough times. And this is about providing direct support to the people who have been working hard to get us through some tough times, and the people who we are counting on to power Canada's economic recovery. I do want to offer one piece of practical advice. We want to know if you were working in 2023. So please, if you haven't filed a tax return, file your tax return by December 31st. That will make it possible for us to.
Yeah, Frank, it's like 37% more in Canada on average. I think BC's worse off. Just because we have so much other taxes on top of it, like on production and stuff.
To send you that check for $250. It's going to be paid on an individual basis to everyone who worked in 2023 and made $150,000 or less. So support for working people, the people who have really gotten our country through a tough time and who we're counting on to really power a very strong recovery at the end of this year and next year.
That's what I mean. They like sell it like, here's the answer to all your problems. It's like, this is a very situational cut depending on where you live, of like what province you're in, and your lifestyle. So the biggest one is groceries. That's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. However, where is this money all coming from? That's my main point. Like, obviously everybody wants free money and to pay less taxes on what they buy, but where is that money coming from that you're now adding more, you're taking in less and you're giving out more? Where is that coming from?
Merci beaucoup pour votre temps et nous sommes prêts à répondre à vos questions.
We'll now begin the question period. One question, one follow-up.
Yeah, last time they offered something like this too, you had to file within a certain deadline to get it.
Hey, our first question.
And they didn't advertise the deadline to anybody.
We'll go to iPolitics.
Hey, good morning, Prime Minister. Barbara with iPolitics. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Barbara.
Good. I'm just going to pass along some questions from my editor, Marco Vigliotti. So do you think any of this would be happening today if the Liberals weren't so reliant on the NDP for support in the House?
I'm glad the NDP has indicated it's going to be behind us.
So she's asking, would this be happening if it wasn't for you wanting the NDP's support in the House?
On moving forward on a GST rebate, a GST break for the next 2 months. This is another thing we're stepping up to do on top of all the measures we put forward for affordability over the past years. Things like dental care, things like dropping childcare costs to $10 a day and expanding accessibility for it. We're moving forward on pharmacare, which is free insulin for those who need it and free prescription contraceptives for people who need it. We're moving forward on a school food program. It's going to take hundreds of dollars off Canadians' grocery bills. These are things that we've been focused on throughout. Now, in the House right now, the Conservatives continue to vote against all of our affordability measures and are even blocking the work we're doing to pass a number of these measures to deliver for Canadians. We're glad to see the NDP looks like it's going to get behind us and allow Parliament to deliver these things for Canadians, but we're all going to work together at it.
Thank you. So you said earlier this year in an interview that giving checks to Canadians would increase inflation. So why are you willing to do this right now, especially considering that rising inflation is what has prompted the Bank of Canada to drive up interest rates? And if you can also say that in French, please.
Sorry, that was a couple of years ago where global inflation had the Bank of Canada needing to respond by raising interest rates. And we stepped forward in direct measures like reducing childcare costs, like delivering dental care, moving forward in ways that we're supporting families without impacting directly on inflation. Inflation is down. We're back down. We've been close to a year within the target range that the Bank of Canada set, which is
inflation is not back down. It's just slowed down. Let's get that straight here, Trudeau.
Why the Bank of Canada is now dropping interest rates faster than for most of our peer countries, and it allows us to make sure that we are putting money in people's pockets in a way that is not going to stimulate inflation, but is going to help them make ends meet and continue our economic growth. This is something that we're doing because, and we're able to do because Canada has one of the strongest balance sheets in the world, the lowest deficit in the G7.
The lowest deficits in the G7, really? Really? Would you bet your life on that, Trudeau? Like, come on, buddy. You gotta know this is a bunch of crap.
The lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7 and decreasing. We have a strong fiscal position. We're putting it to work for supporting Canadians with a tax break for all Canadians and with checks, rebates for working Canadians. Yeah, you can add something.
Honestly, I used to think that too, Frank, but he's just straight out of Dumb and Dumber, honestly.
Answer in French. Nous avons depuis des mois à travers, au contraire, presque un an, ce qui a dans une position, les programmes connaissent à part des sont importants. On peut, concrètement.
I just wanted to add a couple of elaborations on what the Prime Minister just said. So I really welcome the question.
Oh, his handler's speaking.
because it was a very intentional policy of our government to focus first and foremost on inflation and interest rates. We recognized exactly what Giancarlo saw at the cash register here. We recognized that the single biggest pain point for Canadians was the high interest rates that the Bank of Canada imposed because inflation was high. The Canadian economy is uniquely sensitive to high interest rates because Canadian people are sensitive to high interest rates. We tend to have 5-year mortgages, and so when interest rates went up, it really hurt Canadian families. And like, don't ask me, ask Giancarlo, because they were buying less stuff here. They couldn't afford it. We knew we had to do everything we could to support inflation coming down and interest rates coming down. And the good news for Canadians is that is happening. As the Prime Minister said, for 10 months in a row, inflation has been in the Bank of Canada's target range, and the bank has now lowered rates.
You notice they won't say the specific numbers. They say target range. It's better. It's lower. It's newer, faster, improved. It's just like, why don't you just say what it is? It's 2%. Like that's what it is. Like, it's still not going down. So don't act like things are getting cheaper. Like, I don't know. She's just, the way that they sell it is so stupid.
4 times. That is really good news for Canadians. The other,
honestly, I didn't think he was going to show up yesterday, and I watched QP off stream, and I was pretty surprised with how fiery QP was yesterday. And I was like, damn it, we couldn't have had this on stream. Like, I had to go to work.
reality is, right now, the challenge in the Canadian economy is as much on the consumer demand side. You know, where we are seeing some fragility in the economy is what Giancarlo sees here in his store, that Canadian consumers are squeezed and they are not able to go out and spend. That's a problem for Canadian families. It's also a problem for the Canadian economy.
Oh,
and so this measure
feed.
is an affordability measure. It's about making life better and easier for Canadian families. It's also going to be good for our economy.
Yeah, we're going to watch Poilievre's press conference after this, guys.
By helping Canadian families go out and buy those groceries they need, buy the things their families need for their holidays, buy their kids a new coat or a new toque and put it under the Christmas tree. And there's going to be no GST on Christmas trees as well. Or Lego set.
Come on, who wants to get a hat for Christmas? Right?
I'm such a boring mom, right? It's true. Yes, okay, a Lego set as well as your cute toque. Also, plush toys and dolls are included, so are video games. And that is going to be good for Canadian families. It's going to provide them the relief they need, and it's also good for the economy.
Yeah, she's incredibly patronizing, and I love how Trudeau's like, yeah, she's better at explaining than me. Oh, great, good job, Freeland. Good job, Christia. I can't even say what her name say. It's like, you have to like say her name like she's some royalty.
At this time, because we as a government and as a country have done the hard work we needed to do to get inflation down and put interest rates on a downward path.
Next question.
Bonjour, Luna Charpentier de Radio-Canada. Une question en français pour très cher.
Une des voici qu'on va aussi pour les Canadiens, les effets au cours des dernières années de l'élection, investir et battre, c'est
Michelle Song, CBC News. Now that the ICC has issued warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Canadian law enforcement is obligated to arrest them should they come to Canada. Will you allow that to happen, or will you step in to prevent an arrest?
First of all, as Canada has always said, it's really important that everyone abide by international law. This is something we've been calling on from the beginning of the conflict. We are one of the founding members of the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice. We stand up for international law, and we will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the international courts. This is just who we are as Canadians. At the same time, we need to keep working to solve this terrible situation. We need to see aid flowing in to
it's almost over, guys. Like we're just like with all the French in between, there's probably like 5 to 6 minutes of him talking.
People who are facing famine and disease. We need to see all the hostages released. We need to see Hamas lay down its arms. We condemn Hamas for its continued actions. We need to see a ceasefire that protects civilians. We need to get back on track towards a two-state solution with a peaceful Israel living alongside a peaceful Palestinian state. These are the things that Canada has been working on. And at the same time, we have to recognize as Canadians that it's been very, very difficult for members of different communities in this country. We have to remember who we are, be there for each other, understand that people are angry and grieving, but remember that we are all pushing for peace and stability as hard as we can. Depuis les débuts, nous soulignons à quel point c'est important pour tout le monde de respecter le droit
basically said he will.
Et on va toujours essayer de faire, est en train de travailler.
He didn't say he'd protest it.
D'avoir, on a besoin d'un cesse remettre.
What share of this windfall in sales tax revenues are you giving back to Canadians with these moves today?
The increase in global inflation has forced the Bank of Canada had raised its interest rates, but now that inflation has come down back to the target range in Canada and have been for 10 months, interest rates are coming down once again, which is providing real relief for Canadians. But even with that, Canadians need a tax break. And that's what we're delivering. As we take the GST, HST off of all groceries, off of restaurants and takeout and fast food, off of toys, off of children's clothes, off beer and wine. These are things that are going to help Canadians as they approach not just Christmas and the holidays, but the beginning of the new year as well. We know people are under pressure. This is there to help them, and the Working Canadians rebate, $250 for Canadians who worked in 2015 and made less than $150.
That's the thing, dude. Is people who don't like Trudeau. It's so funny because no one in this chat likes Trudeau, and we're just watching him, and everyone's just ripping him apart in the chat. That's my favorite part of this.
$1,000. These are things that are going to help at a time where Canadians need that help.
Next question.
Yeah, Jason, the conservative guy. Canadians need and want a new leader. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody at this point, like it's something like over 80% of Canadians want an election, I'm pretty sure.
Nathaniel Dove, Global News. You mentioned you're taking taxes off of things like video games and video game consoles. How does that help people who are struggling, who likely can't afford those or are unlikely to buy them anyways?
One of the things that we've focused on very much over the past years has been targeted relief for those who most need it. Seniors over 75 who had been facing a rise in costs or in medical bills, we increased OAS for them. We know families who don't have dental insurance, couldn't afford dental care, needed extra help. We've been investing to support people in targeted ways who were among the most vulnerable across the country. This is a measure that recognizes that everyone has been facing the pinch. And that's why all Canadians get a tax break for the 2 months from mid-December to mid-February. This is a time where, yes, people are buying toys for their kids, so we're moving forward on a tax break on toys. But regardless of whether or not you celebrate Christmas, people gather for the holidays with family. So restaurants, takeout, prepared food and groceries, all grocery stores. No GST, HST. Moving forward on kids' clothes, including kids' winter clothes, boots, shoes. These are things that people care about that matter for them. And seeing that Canadians have been squeezed and being able to do something direct for them on top of the many measures we've put forward is about recognizing that we are now in a better place.
It's for the holidays, basically.
In our economy, and it's time for people to get a bit of a break to be able to enjoy that.
You previously railed against the Harper government for sending, as you said, checks to the wealthy. $150,000 is a pretty healthy income, and the checks, the rebates will go to those people. How do you justify this now?
We started in 2015 by creating the Canada Child Benefit, where we took a number of previous benefits that Conservatives had created that were boutique targeted, that were going to wealthy Canadians. They were sending child benefit checks to millionaire families. We made it means tested and delivered hundreds of dollars a month tax-free to families in the middle class and those working hard to join it who really needed it. That was money in their pockets that made a huge difference for Canadians. That's something that we believed in. We didn't believe in sending child benefit checks to millionaires. So now as we're moving forward with a working Canadians rebate, we are saying, no, we're not going to send that $250 rebate check to millionaires. We're sending it to people who are working, who make less than $150,000. I will highlight that costs have gone up for everyone, and even someone making $130,000, $140,000 a year is cutting back on restaurants, is thinking twice about what groceries they can buy, is being thoughtful about the price.
That's how bad it is, you dumbass.
Pressures on us all. So we see middle-class Canadians, and we're going to be there to help them out as well. This is a choice we're making that is delivering for Canadians.
Yeah, isn't the poverty line in BC like 90,000 now?
Canadians at a time where, yes, our economy is turning the corner, but people are still facing that squeeze. This will help us get through it. The way we all pulled together to get through COVID, the way we all pulled together as Canadians when times get tough. This is about being there for Canadians when they need it, with a tax break for all Canadians.
Next question.
Hi, Monique Malima, Bloomberg News. How do these tax breaks square with your pledge to be fiscally responsible, and how does the government plan to pay for this? Will it be tax raises elsewhere, cuts to spending, or a deeper deficit?
So he's being asked, how is this fiscally responsible, which is what I've been saying.
Again, Canada has the strongest balance sheet in the G7. We have the lowest debt to GDP ratio of all of our peer countries. We have a fiscal track that the Parliamentary Budget Officer has just said is totally and absolutely sustainable. Canadians can have confidence in the Canadian economy and in its future, because the world has confidence in Canada's economy in the future.
I don't think it does, actually.
Foreign direct investment, companies investing in Canada, is actually up 60% since 2015. And just last year, we were in absolute terms third in the world for companies coming to invest in Canada, in Canadian workers, in Canadian future. That makes us number one per capita in the G20 for foreign investment. Canada is on a solid footing. Our macroeconomy is doing well, but that's why we're choosing to put that in service directly of Canadians. Canadians who need it with dental benefits, Canadians who need it with pharmacare, with insulin and prescription contraceptives, Canadians who need support for groceries through the school food program, Canadians who are saving thousands of dollars because we've dropped childcare down to $10 a day in most of the country and are expanding spaces.
Like, he acts like all these solutions are delivering for Canadians, and he doesn't even understand. Like, he's so trapped in his bubble. He does not understand. And on top of that, he's just a moron. Like, I don't see him as intentionally doing. Is this the face of an evil genius or just a dumbass? And to me, it's a dumbass. This is just somebody who's completely incompetent, had everything handed to him. He's one of those rich kids on one of those TV shows you watch, 90210, whatever type of teen dramas. He's one of those rich kids. He's the kids with the sweaters from The Outsiders. Like, that's who this guy is.
These are things we are doing for Canadians because our fiscal balance sheet is strong, because we have been fiscally responsible to bring down inflation and to see interest rates coming down as well, even as we are investing in housing.
Yeah, he's got a trust fund and he inherited a bunch of money from a company, I believe, and he makes like $400K a year.
Investing in.
And he, pretty sure expenses a lot of his lifestyle choices to the taxpayer.
Bringing in investments and creating jobs and careers for the future.
I think we're just about done with this.
The NDP called for removing GST on home heating and other monthly bills. Why was that not included?
I'm pleased that the NDP is getting behind us on this tax break for all Canadians. We have seen, unfortunately, for the past months in the House of Commons, the Conservatives have been blocking legislation that could be passed on accelerating dental benefits for Canadians, on moving forward, on supports for families. And for the NDP to say, okay, enough is enough. Let's actually get Parliament working to deliver for Canadians. It's about time. We know the Conservatives didn't care about dental benefits or the school food policy. They voted against them, so they're fine blocking it in the House. But I know the NDP actually supports our national school food program. The NDP actually supports dental care. So it's been bewildering to me to see them sit back, cross their arms, and allow Parliament to be bogged down in procedural filibusters that the Conservatives are choosing to do and not being able to deliver concretely for Canadians. So
see, I think his first term before he was elected, this word salad worked for him because he didn't have much of a history. He was like, I'm going to be this better version of my dad who's going to be, bring Canada into a better, brighter tomorrow. And then he ended up being worse than his dad. And ended up in this situation, right? And now he's just an absolute moron. Everybody wants him out. 2021, he only got reelected because he still had the vote of the committed Liberals. But he's lost all those votes now. He's lost all of them from what it seems like. Like people are just don't want him anymore. And his approval rating is like historically low for a Liberal sitting prime minister anyways.
To see the NDP getting behind us on a tax break for all Canadians, on support for Canadian families, on delivering money in the bank accounts and pockets of working Canadians. These are things that we should be pulling together as a Parliament, and I'm hoping all parliamentarians will get behind us on this.
You guys all, I guess it's not his dad, right? I don't know. He looks like his dad when he's younger, but he does look, his head shape and hair look more like Castro now.
Thank you. Last question.
I don't know if that's just
Hi, Prime Minister Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. I think when people saw that this announcement was being made, they saw Jagmeet Singh sort of take credit for it preemptively last night. They thought maybe you'd struck a deal with the NDP to end the privilege debate with this announcement. It sounds like the NDP isn't prepared to do that, and they want to use other motions to support this measure. What kind of discussions are you having with that party to get Parliament moving again?
I am certainly hopeful that the NDP will see that
I think about 8 out of 10 people in this chat are pissed off right now.
A frozen Parliament doesn't deliver for Canadians. Like I said, the Conservatives have been blocking all the affordability measures that we've been putting forward, and to see the NDP tacitly agreeing with them has been a little confusing for a lot of progressives across the country. So with this measure that has to get through Parliament and get through Parliament quickly so people can start feeling that relief at that tax break as soon as mid-December comes around, the NDP is going to have to step up and get beyond the freeze that we're seeing in Parliament. But I hope all parliamentarians get behind these measures. These are measures that we can deliver because our fiscal situation is strong, but we need to deliver because Canadians certainly need this support.
Okay, and just on the USMCA, the Mexican president says that you told her personally you were not in favor of kicking Mexico out of the agreement. Can you expand on your conversations with her, and why is your finance minister, and maybe Minister Freeland can remark also, leaving the door open to that as Canada's position?
We have exactly the same position. We have an absolutely outstanding trade deal right now between our three countries. The USMCA, CUSMA, New NAFTA, whatever you want to call it, has been incredibly successful for the Canadian economy, for the US economy, and for the Mexican economy. This is something that we would like to see continue. That is my first choice. There have been real and genuine concerns raised about Chinese investment into Mexico that I brought up directly with the Mexican president, that a number of people have noted, that I know the three countries are going to have to lean in and work on. We're leaving all doors open because my job is and always will be, to stand up for Canadian workers, to stand up for the Canadian economy.
Well, you suck at your job, Trudeau. Does anyone else want to tell him how much he sucks at his job?
Stand up for Canadian interests. That's what guided us through President Trump's first term. That's what will guide us through this second term. We will fight for Canadians. We will secure Canadian jobs and Canadian growth long into the future. Ideally, we do that.
Yeah, there's like 1 minute left, and then we're going to go over to Pierre's announcement from this morning, and then
as a united North American market. But pending decisions and choices that Mexico has made, we may have to look at other options. But let me just say it again. My ideal situation is we continue to work well together to protect jobs in North America from overcapacity or economic coercion that other countries have been responsible for.
Thank you, Prime Minister. That concludes today's press
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
conference.
Take care. I answer the questions that were given to me. Thank you very much.
He's like getting the hell out of there.
Merci d'être là aujourd'hui. Comme vous le savez, après 9 ans, la vie a augmenté des taxes et a doublé. Autrement libéral, instruction de l'inflation, vous prie que pour 500 fermiers. Il a regardé l'équipe. M. Trudeau is back and DP Liberal. As you know, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. As you know, after 9 years of Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberals, everything is broken. And
here's a real man.
Let's face it, the NDP Liberal coalition is back together. They've doubled housing costs, doubled the debt, doubled food bank use, doubled gun crime. With Jagmeet and Justin, it is double trouble for Canadians. Everything is broken. Life costs more. In fact, food prices have risen 36% faster in Canada than in the United States, a gap that opened up after the application of the carbon tax on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. Now we have 2 million people lined up at food banks. This week we learned there has been a record increase in child poverty over the last year, all while Trudeau and the NDP made grand promises about childcare. 400,000 kids are forced to eat at food banks. 1 in 4 kids are not getting enough food, according to the government's own data. In fact, scurvy is making a comeback. Housing costs have doubled. Rent has doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, down payments have all doubled. And Trudeau's Housing Accelerator Fund, by his own admission, has not built a single solitary new home. 1,400 homeless encampments are now scattered across Ontario, 35 of them in Halifax alone. Our economy is cratering. It's dropped in per capita terms more than any other G7 country. Our per capita GDP is smaller than it was 10 years ago, even though during the same time the American per capita GDP has grown by 18%. Median incomes in our two countries were equal 10 years ago. Now,
yeah, I did a new poll. I don't know. I guess I should announce the polls. Who would you rather go on a nice dinner with, Pierre Poilievre or Justin? I got the idea when Genghis referred to Pierre as a real man.
They're $22,000 American bigger south of the border, where $500 billion net of our investment has poured to build pipelines, factories, businesses, and pay American paychecks with Canadian investment dollars after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP Liberal tax increases and inflationary deficits. And the worst is yet to come. Trudeau and the NDP have voted for and legislated the quadrupling of the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, which will stop our trucks from delivering parts to factories, clothing to stores, food to grocery shelves. It will mean billions more will pour across the border into the United States. Millions of jobs will be lost, and a big smile will appear on Donald Trump's face as he picks up the phone from the Oval Office to call Canadian factories, trucking companies, mines, to tell them to go south 100 kilometers where there is no carbon tax and other taxes are dropping. The only thing worse than President Trump's tariffs are Prime Minister Trudeau's taxes. It's clear why Trump wants to create American jobs. It's not clear why Justin Trudeau wants to help him do it. And what do we have today? Well, Jagmeet Singh has broken his word yet again. Remember, Jagmeet Singh said the deal was ripped up? Well, now he's taped it right back together.
Well, thanks, James, and thanks to those who like the stream, by the way. I appreciate it.
Despite all the poverty and misery and the record gap between rich and poor the NDP crows so much about, they're now keeping the government in power that did it. You know, he said that he would not support Justin Trudeau anymore, and now he's doing just that until at least his pension kicks in next February.
I'll turn him up.
Jagmeet Singh has sold out Canadians to sign on with Trudeau again. And today what we have is a 2-month temporary tax trick.
Yeah, they like, I had him boosted because he was so quiet, and then they just fixed his audio. So sorry if you got your speakers a little loud there.
That will not make up for the permanent quadrupling carbon tax on heat, housing, food, and fuel, and all to save Justin's job and Jagmeet's pension. Ironically, in just a few months, Trudeau and the NDP plan to raise taxes on all the same items they claim they're giving you a break on, directly through the carbon tax. They'll be raising taxes on heat, on gas, on everything that comes in a truck. If you got it, a truck brought it, and it will be more expensive with this carbon tax. They even plan to jack up liquor taxes in April, while they claim to be taking them off for the next 2 months. That sounds like a trick. A trick. Are you fooled? You don't look like you're fooled. He can see the trick.
He's so snarky. It's funny when he does it, though, right? But this is the fire that someone who hasn't been in power has, right? And Trudeau had this fire before, and now look at him, right? So I really hope Poilievre is really more of a real man than Trudeau and can withhold, hold himself together and actually deliver on what he's promising.
Trick. Like he's even he's laughing. Nobody believes Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh after they've impoverished our people and made life worse off. The good news is there will be a carbon tax election, and Canadians will choose between the costly NDP Liberal carbon tax coalition, the tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. But we have solutions, and we're offering them today. We're calling for an alternative, which is this: permanently axe the carbon tax. Permanently take the GST off new homes to save people up to $50,000 on a new home purchase and stimulate 30,000 extra home builds every single year. A permanent tax cut that will boost our economy. Cutting taxes on work, saving.
And that's what I mean. He's got this confidence in himself that Trudeau just doesn't have anymore. Like Trudeau has this like fake puffed up, like, pufferfish confidence. Whereas Poilievre is coming out like a big bull, right?
Investment, energy, and making stuff in Canada. In other words, let's bring home more paychecks and production to our country. More importantly, let's bring home Canada's promise. A very simple promise that brought us all here, and it is this: that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods, a country where anyone from anywhere can do anything, the freest country on earth. Let's bring it home.
Greenpeace était chez vous ce matin. Greenpeace était devant chez vous ce matin. Est-ce que vous avez quelque chose pour rassurer les écologistes en précisant quels seraient les objectifs climatiques du Canada sous un gouvernement
au Canada, au lieu
clear, you will vote against this, and if this is brought against us, you will vote against this measure if it's brought in the House of Commons?
We haven't seen the measure. We've seen his press releases. And if we believed NDP Liberal press releases, then we might have been tricked, as many in the media were, when they believed the rhetoric on the carbon tax. Remember, they said the carbon tax would make you better off. And here we are with the food professor showing that food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the US, a gap that opened up as the tax started applying here on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. And of course, then the parliamentary budget officer came out years after all of you wrongly reported and regurgitated Liberal talking points on the carbon tax. He came out and said, no, 100% of middle-class Canadians are worse off under the carbon tax, and 60% of all Canadians are worse off. So you're asking me if I'm going to vote for today's press release and press conference. I don't vote for press releases and press conferences. Canadians cannot eat press or live in press releases or press conferences. Let's see what they put before us. But I've got a better idea. Here's what I propose. When they come forward, put in the bill 2 ideas that will help forever. Axe the carbon tax, axe the GST on new homes.
Qu'est-ce que vous dites, M. Poilievre? Qu'est-ce que vous dites aux députés? Qu'est-ce que vous dites aux députés?
Je vous crois pas. Des logements. Préparez-vous pas. Trudeau said, we put up d'une belle maison. Ça, c'est le rêve de tous les Canadiens. Et 100% des députés conservateurs sont pour. Non, c'est ma réponse.
Pourquoi vous ne laissez pas nous parler?
Oui, préparez-vous pas.
Non, jamais.
Non, on ne parle pas sur la faute de l'affaire, monsieur, sur l'annonce d'aujourd'hui.
What about the part about the checks that are going out to Canadians in the new year? You've said before that when the government prints money, it's inflationary. What do you think about those checks? Do you support the idea of directly returning money to Canadians?
Sorry, that was Justin Trudeau who said that. We put up the quote today
yes.
where he said
You've said it too.
He
in
said
the
his
spending.
He said spending. He said his deficit spending contributes to inflation. Trudeau said every dollar he spends brings an extra dollar of inflation. And that's just a mathematical reality, right? If you have a fixed number of goods and services and you increase the number of dollars as Justin Trudeau's deficits have done, then all you do is bid up the cost of all the goods people buy, and that's why 25% of kids are in poverty, why record 2 million people are lined up at food banks, scurvy's making a comeback, housing costs have doubled. That's the misery that you get with massive socialist money printing. And what I'm proposing is a common sense alternative. Let's cap spending, cut waste, bring down deficits, interest rates, and inflation. And by the way, let's axe the carbon tax and axe the GST on new homes.
And that's what I mean. He's just confident in what he's saying. That's something Trudeau does not have at all. He just seems like he's floundering and stammering like he's Porky Pig.
Fire with fire. You're talking about tit for tat agenda. What exactly do you mean by that when you say you're going to fight fire with fire? Are you talking about tit for tat tariffs, or are you talking about something else?
Well, right now we have 2 leaders that want to charge Canadians more. You know, President Trump has proposed tariffs on Canadians. Justin Trudeau is proposing taxes on Canadians. It's clear why President Trump wants to create jobs for Americans. It's not clear why Justin Trudeau is so determined to help him do it. Trudeau's capital gains tax hike is going to kill 60,000 Canadian jobs. Blocking energy and resource projects is going to send more production south of the border, as it already has. In the first 14 years of this decade, of this century, we had more American investment in Canada. In the last 9 years, $500 billion Canadian dollars have left for the U.S. more than have come back. That's Canadian investment dollars creating American jobs. My approach will be this. We will cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and making stuff in Canada. We will greenlight massive resource projects to bring home production, and we will fight for an end to the softwood lumber tariffs and the discriminatory Buy America rules that Justin Trudeau capitulated on and let the Americans, our American friends, keep in place. We're going to have a prime minister who will stand up for our people again, and won't that be refreshing?
Yeah, he walked away. That's what I mean. Is he does it in a way though? He's got confidence. It doesn't seem as like it doesn't seem like he's running away. It seems like he's ending the conversation. And like that's the thing is like with the body language here. Look at this face. So everyone else's favorite. This little. I don't even know what to call this group of people. Honestly, they're just like the group of misfits no one asked for. Essentially, this is 10 minutes long. We're gonna watch this because it's on topic here with the GST tax cuts and Jagmeet Singh's take on all this. So this was not long ago, right after Poilievre's press conference there.
All right, I have an opening comment, and then I'm looking forward to your questions. The NDP is a party of the working class. I'm sick and tired, though, of billionaires and CEOs that continue to get tax breaks off the back of workers. So we fought for a tax break.
Looks like a washed up boy band. Yeah, these four on the side for sure.
For the working class, and we're delivering. I've heard again and again from families how they are feeling so squeezed with the cost of living crisis. Families that have had to cut back on monthly costs, like taking their kids to swimming lessons or other extra
sellout group.
They go into the grocery store and they can't actually buy all the items that they need for their family, for special gatherings. All the while, they see CEOs get richer and richer. So we said, as New Democrats, I believe, and we believe, that we need to take the GST off of daily essentials. Let's give working class folks a bit of relief, a little break. And so we wanted to see the GST removed from things like your cell phone bill, your internet bill, your home heating bill, from your daily necessities, like going to a grab-and-go grocery store, grab-and-go items at the grocery store, or your essentials when it comes to kids, clothing, diapers. And we fought for this. We said this is important, and the Liberals informed us that they had caved to our demands. But they included a Liberal letdown. This is temporary, and it doesn't include the monthly bills. But we know that middle-class families need a break, so we're going to work as hard as possible to get this done as quickly as possible. While the Liberals have let you down, Pierre Poilievre and Conservatives are missing in action. They're too busy playing games in the House, and all that Pierre Poilievre wants to propose is to cut the things that you need to make your life even more expensive. So this is what we are committing to today. We want to see this relief done as quickly as possible. So we're prepared to pause the privilege motion that's being debated in the House for one day, get this bill passed in one day, so that working families, so that middle-class families can get this relief as quick as possible. And then, when I'm Prime Minister, I will make it permanent.
When I'm Prime Minister, okay, I'm sorry, but I think I've got to give the dumbass trophy to Jagmeet Singh here. I don't think he ever has a shot at becoming Prime Minister, ever. Like, ever. Like, I have no idea what he thinks he's gonna do. Like, he's just such a moron. Like, this is the face of somebody who does not think, like, the idea that he actually thinks he's gonna be Prime Minister one day is insulting to the Canadian people. Like, what?
I'll do that again in French, and I look forward to your questions.
He's so quiet.
L'NPD, c'est pour les ouvriers. On doit sur qu'on a dit il doit faire. Aujourd'hui, on sait que les gens ont besoin. Ce projet de loi saying that they are really squeezed when it comes to the cost of living. So we want to see this motion passed, or this bill passed, as quickly as possible. So we'll get it done in one day.
And you don't make this members? Don't you need consent from the House to do a one-day pause?
No, what we're prepared to do is make sure that there is enough time in the House to get this passed in one day. You can speak with our House leader for more details, but this is what we're proposing. We don't want to let the Liberals off the hook, but we want to see some relief for middle-class families, for working-class families. We're prepared to do that.
You said you'd make this measure permanent.
Super
Would you keep that
Sorry, guys.
$150,000 salary cap? I mean, to me, those people aren't really hurting right now.
No, what we had proposed was to have the GST removed from daily essentials and bills. We would make that permanent.
Monsieur, êtes-vous d'accord avec le chèque de 250? Est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec ça? Avec un plafond de 150 000?
Jean, notre
$150. You support the 200. You're talking about the GST, but also now you do support $250 going out as everyone has mentioned, for people who have salaries up to $150,000.
Listen, we said that this is a measure that we fought for to remove the GST off of.
No, I'm asking about the checks. Sorry, I'm asking about the checks specifically.
To remove the GST off of daily essentials, and the Liberals have caved to that. They've also proposed an additional measure to get money out to people. We support that. We're not going to oppose people getting some help. It's not the way we would have done it, but we're not going to oppose people getting some help.
Dans cette belle journée que vous avez en tête, est-ce que vous feriez passer aussi
on a demandé qu'on doit enlever le TPS get a break. They should get the GST removed off of their essentials. The Liberals caved to that demand and are now doing it. There was no negotiation. There was no discussions. We put it out in the public. We said people need this help. And then the Liberals caved to that and are announcing what we said people need. People need a break. So for folks out there that are feeling squeezed, we see you and we heard you. We want to give you some relief. And so what we're going to do is make sure that you get the GST removed off of your essentials, and we're going to get it done in the House. We know that the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre are playing games. The Liberals haven't been able to disclose documents. We're going to make sure this gets done for you and your families.
Thanks, Big Water. Appreciate it.
Déposé quand le projet de loi sera-t-il déposé selon vous? Avez-vous une idée? La semaine prochaine, d'ici le 14 décembre, je présume?
Est-ce que c'est suffisant?
Non. Ce qu'on a dit, c'est accepter effectivement notre.
Be inflationary, given that they're going out to such a wide group of Canadians with $150,000 salary being the cap. Are you concerned that this checks going out could be inflationary?
Well, again, this is not the way that we would have approached it. We said we wanted the GST removed off of daily essentials and off of bills. That's what we proposed. The Liberals, there was no negotiation. They came forward and said they caved to our demand, and they're going to do something that's going to give people a break. Obviously, we're going to support people getting a break. It's not the way we would have done it, but we absolutely need to get a break for people, and we're going to support that and make sure that gets passed as quick as possible.
Why are you willing to pause the debate for this and not for the estimates, which have $317 million in new dental care funding?
So this is a measure that we demanded recently. We said that we need to see people get a break. We know that people are drowning. And that's why we put forward the idea to take the GST off of daily essentials and monthly bills. We know this is going to make a difference.
Oh, thanks, Luca. Yeah, we hit 2K subs yesterday. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all your support, by the way. I honestly forgot. I said something in the Discord, so if you guys are in the Discord, usually I'll give updates like that, or like if the stream's going to start a few minutes late, I'll give updates in there. So yeah, if you guys like the stream and like the chat, join the Discord. The link in the description is fresh. It should work. There's already a handful of you in there, and yeah, it's growing. It just started, it wasn't very many people in there for a while, and now it's just started growing out of nowhere, and we've grown like 4 times its size in about a week, so it's pretty good.
Difference in people's lives. So we want to see that.
It wasn't very big before the 4 times growth, though.
Done right away. It's not meaningful if the idea is floated and then it takes forever to pass it and no one gets any help. So before the holiday season, we want to see people get some relief. This bill will do that. It's something we fought for, something we demanded. The Liberals have caved to it, and we want to get it done in the House. Merci. Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Okay, we're going to go over to that CBC hit piece that everybody wanted to watch, because this is actually pretty interesting, I think. Because it is a hit piece, right? Like, you know, Saul might want to push back on me, but we're going to watch this because it's basically, like, the title is How Poilievre's Office Maintains Tight Control Over His MPs. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it just makes him sound so like, oh, he's an authoritarian. He's going to use a notwithstanding clause to punish criminals who do violent crimes. It's just like, well, why aren't we punishing violent criminals to begin with? They're repeat offenders.
Talks about the importance of speaking up. The reality is his MPs are no longer.
Thanks, James. Appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys who asked the chat to like, and you know, they're not affiliated. They're just doing that because they love the channel that much, guys.
Voices for their communities. They are his voice in their communities.
Thanks, Luca. Appreciate the super, buddy. Conservative bucks for the channel. No liberal ideas or policies. I'll let Saul know that it was much less. It was, like I said, today is a very conservative day. It's all sick.
That's not how this place is supposed to work, Mr. Speaker.
That was Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today in question period, going after Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre for his tight control over the actions of Conservative MPs. This comes from a story reported by Radio Canada's Christian Noel, and he joins me now with more. Christian, welcome back to the show. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Okay.
So CBC is coming on to CBC, guys, just so you guys know. That's who this guy is.
What have you learned about the Conservatives and their leader? This continues a trend of them talking anonymously to you. What have you learned?
Well, there's always caucus management, there's always control, there's always some kind of party line that you have to follow in politics. But what the Conservatives members have been speaking with are telling me is that this goes well beyond that. It goes far beyond what would be considered normal inside a regular political party.
Saul's sick today. So he's probably not going to be streaming today, or he might be out for the week. He has whatever I had a few weeks ago, last week.
They're monitored by staff from the leader's office, what they say, who they say it with.
Oh, he's here now. I thought he was too sick to come in. Oh.
What they do, who they do it with, inside and outside parliaments, even in events that do not have anything to do with politics. They're being told they cannot talk to media without the leader's approval. They cannot collaborate with other parties in the House or at committees. They are expected to be extra partisan, to repeat.
So I guess Saul was watching. That's Saul in the chat, guys. Oh, okay, 1 second. They can't hear you yet, so I'll just give you a moment.
Pierre Poilievre's slogans inside the House and outside the House. Those who do are rewarded with big congrats at caucus or with more speaking time in the House. And those who don't, well, they get punished. They get demoted, they lose committee chairmanship, and they lose time in the House. And in private, a lot of them are getting to a point where they're being fed up. But in public, they don't all want to say that. Here's what they had to say this morning. I was wondering, do you feel you have the freedom to express yourself as an MP? Do you feel you have the freedom to express yourself as an MP? You have a feeling you can express yourself as an MP?
Good morning, how are you?
Do you think that Mr. Poilievre has too much control over what people say?
What's the state of freedom in the caucus?
Morning, it's great.
Do you have any thoughts on the freedom of MPs to speak their minds?
Very free.
Wondering this morning if you feel that you have enough freedom to express yourself as an MP. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Not a chatty bunch.
Not this morning and not most morning, that's for sure.
Okay, that's interesting because essentially the leader's office is saying, do as I say and do as I do and focus on these things. And this has been an effective strategy for them, getting them to the point where they have a double-digit lead in the polls. But as you say, some grumbling internally over this. What's been the reaction since you published the story this morning?
Well, like you said, some MPs and some Conservatives in general are telling us it's not as bad as it looks because...
Yeah, sorry, Saul. I can't hear you yet. I'm just having some issues with Discord. It's just OBS being annoying again. Because you said you were sick. I didn't set up at all, so I'm just setting it up to have you come in.
Look, it works. We're 15, 20 points in the polls. We're ahead of the Liberals. If there was an election today, we'd form a massive majority, and then we would have better control. And for some MPs and some Conservatives, it seems to be short-term pain for long-term gain. They're thinking they're willing to wait to get
there we go.
Maybe a...
Saul, you want to give me a check? You should be in now.
Check.
Oh yeah, Saul's in. And your camera's not on, by the way. Are you turning your camera on?
Yeah, I'll just leave my camera. I'm just going to join for the one segment, I think. Or actually, I guess I could turn it on.
I'll just turn on the Trunks picture if you want.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah,
Trunks there talking.
A post as a minister or a parliamentary secretary post. The problem is that for Pierre Poilievre, if you have an election now and you have, according to the stats, maybe 180, 200 MPs, that is a massive caucus that you're not going to be able to manage by giving ministry or parliamentary secretary jobs. A lot of people are going to be passed over. They're not going to like it. There's going to be resentment. There's going to be some jealousy into this. And this is where managing a caucus that feels they don't have the leeway and the freedom to express themselves and represent their constituents in Ottawa and not the contrary. If you're having that tight lead around the MPs, well, some of them at one point might reach a point where they, instead of being behind the lead, they might want to try to...
He's from Radio Canada, so he's basically just French David Cochrane.
Bite the hand that feed them.
Okay, I wonder, Christian, like I have spoken with some...
That's why I thought it was funny, because they're like, I have a special guest joining me today. It's like it's CBC special guesting on CBC, you know what I mean? Like I just thought it was funny for the Poilievre hit piece that this is who they bring on, right? It's just another CBC journalist.
This guy's from CBC Radio Canada.
Yeah,
keys about this
Okay.
in the
Is he
Conservative call, because
reporting
they say
from,
essentially it's a
like somebody like said something to him, or where is he getting the information
apparently
from?
it's just rumored, and when every MP's been asked, they just keep brisking past, like in the B-roll we saw earlier. So I guess they're just saying this is supporting this rumor. So they don't have any actual proof of this yet.
Attack. That's all they're told to do. You know, committees are for that. Question period is for that. Everything is Trudeau's fault. And this came up in question period today, right? This was one of the things that played out in the House of Commons.
Because a story like this, of course, the Liberals could not prevent themselves from using it as fodder to change the channel because they were being attacked on other things, and they just tried to throw it back in the Conservatives' faces.
Liberal MPs are free to speak their minds and voice their opinions, even when we have disagreements.
So I was watching Question Period off stream yesterday, and when he said this, the laughter that came from like the Conservatives and some of the looks on the Liberals' faces, you can see like they don't believe it. Like, you know, it's like the pot calling the kettle black in this situation. But I don't even know if the pot's really, or if the kettle's really black. You know what I mean? The kettle might not be at this point. We don't know.
Yeah, I think it's indisputable that he has tight control over the party, but I think that most of the MPs are probably happy with it because he's doing so well, right? He's a good leader for the party right now. He's been really effective.
Poilievre, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm just want to make sure. We're on the same page.
Both of the other parties, I think, are being led by people who don't know how to manage the party themselves.
Yeah. Like, does this look like a guy who's together and knows how to manage things? I don't think so.
No, he doesn't. No.
Do you think he's delivering for Canadians, Saul?
No, I was talking about this in the Discord the other day. I was saying that he was, I think he's led the party astray. Like he's mismanaging it, and
yeah,
he's made a bunch. The party itself is probably salvageable, but it won't be until like 1 or 2 election cycles when they get a new leader.
Well, they've lost all the diehard Liberals. All the diehard Liberals are just politically homeless and either aren't going to vote or they're going to vote for Poilievre now because they don't want to vote for Jagmeet. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's. I just think that he's completely destroyed his party.
I think there's still a base of people that will vote for Trudeau.
But not like I think
like
it's
at
like
least their local MP, right? Like that's how they'll see it. They'll be like, oh well, I'll vote for my local MP that I like the most, and I don't like the leader. But I mean, clearly that's already been writing on the wall for a while now, right? Like there's MPs coming out to the public talking about how they want him to leave. They kicked Randy out. Like there's some level of people inside of the party that are trying to hold people accountable. The leadership is just out of control.
Yeah,
right
now. Not officially was Randy kicked out. It was apparently his choice to focus
down, right? Yeah.
Well, we're going to be covering that after QP today because I didn't want to cover it before. I was going to cover it before QP, but we kind of spent a lot more time on the GST tax cut thing. So I'm just going to be covering that after QP today. We're going to be looking at all the stuff with Randy resigning, things like that. So after this little Poilievre hit piece, we're going to segue over to the question period. We're just kind of waiting for that to start right now. Honestly, that's why we're watching this, and it's eye-opening to me to see. You know, when people are arguing, like, you know, why believe a word CBC says? It's like, well, this is why people don't want to believe. It's like the bot army scandal, right? Like every hit piece they've had has ended up being nothing but a headline. And I feel like they just want people to read the headline, right? They don't even want.
I had
like it's hard to get dirt on him. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say though that like I was in the car. One of my cars, the radio's all busted, right? And so I can't. It was set to CBC because it's like the first radio station on there. And it turned on and they were talking about the Randy Boissonnault stuff and they were like going off about it. And like, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like there is, obviously there's a bias there, right? Obviously most of the people working there are liberal, but at the same time, like they are willing to call out people when they think that there's something that's been done that's wrong. And I mean, it's funny because the Indigenous thing was kind of what set it off. But when they were talking about that, they were also talking about, oh, he's been embroiled in multiple scandals over the last couple of years. And there's this whole like drug thing, right? And like, it's, I don't know. It's not like they're ignoring the problems within their own party. I don't think. I just think that
it seems like they're ignoring them, honestly. It seems like they're imploding. And this is what happens when you ignore your problems. This is what you end up in. You know
no, I meant the CBC.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the liberals were ignoring their
problem. They still do call out the liberals. No, the liberals
they do, but they don't. I think they honestly, it's just been more of the last like year since this whole thing about the CBC just being a mouthpiece for the PMO's office was coming out, right? And then they started to be really more amped up towards, you know, trying to make, they had him on for that interview. That was, you could clearly tell there was some questions Trudeau didn't know were coming or some follow-ups that he was upset about when David Cochrane interviewed Trudeau in like the first video we ever did, right? and that was in like June, right? Well, the interview took place late May this year, but it was June that we reacted to it and watched it. But basically, that interview was the first time I saw CBC really be mean to Trudeau. And I had watched CBC before, but I was glazing most of the time. Now I watch pretty much every political piece of content, CBC, CTV, Global News, and even like a lot of these other organizations put out. And you start to see, yeah, they do kind of come after everybody, but it seems to be a lot of these like hit pieces when it comes to Poilievre, and the Conservatives seem to have like the most baseless claims. You know what I mean? Like the least rooted in something. Whereas the Liberal ones, it's like hard to contain. It's like, yeah, there's like a big mountain of evidence and we're pretty sure this happened, but no one's come out and said it yet.
Well,
You know
yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
like it's 9 years of dirty laundry, right?
Yeah, it's a mountain of dirty laundry at this point.
If Pierre gets into power, it'll be just like the last time. Like you'll have stuff that'll come out. It'll happen. Everybody has scandals. There hasn't been a single scandal-free prime minister in like all of Canadian history. But
Well, no, this is another level. This is like a scandal party. This is a party of scandals, not just a prime minister. This is like a whole caucus of corrupt
I think
individuals.
a lot of the worst stuff he did was at the start of his prime ministership. Like it was the SNC stuff, the WE
that we know
scandal.
of so far, right?
These are all like huge,
And-
and the trip he took from that guy who he was doing business.
Yeah,
with. I can't
and
remember
David
what country it
Cochrane's
was.
also
Just all super conflict of interest stuff, right?
David
What were
Cochrane's
you saying, though?
also said that he is a liberal and that he's supported Trudeau in the last 3 elections. And I think that's something to keep in mind is think of one conservative commentator or journalist at CBC. I can't think of one. And like they do a lot of
none of the Conservatives have been coming after the CBC for like decades.
I'm just
right?
saying it's very
So it's not
one-sided.
surprising that not very many of them work there.
Astonishing to the members of the Conservative Party because they're not allowed to do that. They are not allowed to speak to the media. They are not allowed to speak their minds. They are not allowed to be voices for their communities. They are not allowed to stand up for investments in their cities on housing. That is the real scandal in this place, Mr. Speaker.
And so I had a Liberal MP texting me a little earlier today that says, well, Pierre Poilievre wants Canada to be the freest country on earth, but the MPs are not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, it's not the freest caucus in Ottawa. Christian Noel with Radio Canada. Good work. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to bring back the power panel on this. Emily Nicola, Amanda Alvaro, James Moore, and Brad Levine. James, you've been in a cabinet, you've been in a caucus. There is remarkable message discipline from the Conservatives today as they walked in and didn't say much. What do you make of this report from our colleagues at Radio Canada that people feel a little bit too controlled, a little bit too managed?
Well, first thing, all those members of parliament going into caucus, not everybody runs for office to sing and dance in front of a microphone and tap dance and to be the highest profile person who talks the most. Some people actually just want to be elected and do good stuff and be part of a team that they believe in and support a leader who they think will do good things for the country. So there's that. 1. 2. Justin Trudeau, they're talking about, freedom of speech and our members of parliament can speak freely. No, really? Really? Do you want to talk to Jane Philpott? Do you want to talk to Jody Wilson-Raybould? Do you want to talk to a long list of former Liberal members of Parliament?
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. Someone saying this, you know what I mean? Like, but this is what I mean is very rarely do you get refreshing opinions on CBC. Some people I know that's why I do like some of the people that they bring on.
All come out now and trash Justin Trudeau in the way in which he muzzled his backbenchers. So before he rides super high in the saddle there of self-righteousness.
Yeah, I voted for Trudeau in 2015 because I was 18 and just wanted legalized pot, honestly. I didn't know.
That's what Jason, the Conservative guy, just said in chat.
Oh yeah. That's why I voted for him too. I was 18 and I was like, oh, that sounds like a great guy. This guy knows what's up. Like, all right, let's go. Like,
Consciousness about how the Liberal Party has approached free speech and free votes for members of his party. He might sort of want to look in the rear view.
Either.
Yeah.
Scheer was not the guy. O'Toole, I mean, I would have preferred, like, if I had to pick between O'Toole and Pierre, I'd probably pick O'Toole. But I mean, that doesn't really mean anything for you guys, right? Like, obviously, that means it's because he was a little more, a little less populist, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, so for those watching, just because I'm looking at the time here, today I'm going to be doing something a little bit differently because whenever I do like a 4 to 6 hour long stream, I feel like YouTube just punishes it. I feel like they don't want, unless you're Destiny or some big, huge name, you can't do like a 6 to 8 hour stream without, I feel like YouTube just like blacklisting you or something. I don't know. Because it gets to a point after a certain amount of hours where I just feel like no one can find the stream anymore and it slowly just dwindles and dies. So what we're going to do is today, we're coming up on 11 a.m. We're going to end the stream at 11, and then we're going to start a new stream at 20 after as soon as the question period starts. Gives me time to have a bit of a coffee break, stretch my legs, get a cup of coffee. It will be a new stream. It also just helps for editing, other things like that. So for those of you who are in the Discord, I'll be posting a link in the Discord in case you can't find it. However, if you just go to our YouTube channel page, it'll be the top of the page a few minutes after it starts. So whenever you guys want to do that, just in case, I know in the past when I've done multiple streams in a day, sometimes people can't find it. So I'm just letting you guys know that that's what we're going to do to kind of isolate what we're doing. And so that it, we're not, the title's not about like, oh, we're going to be watching so-and-so give an announcement, and then you're watching like someone from a completely different party talk about something completely different, right? So it's just a bunch of all different reasons for it. I don't know, Saul, are you going to be joining us for question period today, or do you just want to come in for this?
I might be able to hang out for. I'm just like, I'm folding laundry in the computer room right now, so it's like that's why I didn't want to stream my camera either.
Okay. Well, yeah. You told me you were sick.
I was gonna say too.
So I just thought you were.
Yeah. My voice is kind of bugging me too, and like I don't know if you can hear how like congested I am.
A little bit.
I was gonna say for Jason, the conservative guy, said that thing. Oh, I always voted conservative except 2015, right? And I was just thinking,
there was a lot of people that year.
Exactly. A lot of people did that. And I think that this coming election is going to be the same thing. I know people personally who, and I'm going to come out and say, like, I'm not a Pierre supporter, right? Like, I don't really like him. But I've heard people that are closer to where I am politically, less politically involved people, but people who are like typically vote liberal or whatever. And they're all saying the same thing, right? Like, because he's won those people over. He's won over the people that don't really care enough, or sorry, like they don't support Trudeau anymore. Like they don't like Trudeau, and they're like, oh, this guy seems better, and people who aren't super politically aligned one way or the other. I think Pierre's pulled a lot of those people in.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think, I don't know. That's kind of why I think Trudeau won the first time. I think 2021, no one really caught up with the scandals yet. So it was just kind of a whole other ball game. And now that we have, everyone's aware of all the scandals, everyone's aware of all the crap, this is where we're at now, right? Everyone's like, we're done with you and we want a new leader. So I think that's what's changed between this election and the last election. And what's
actually, I talked
difference.
To someone. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I actually, it's funny because I talked to someone else who said the same thing about Chrétien. They had voted Liberal every other election. And then when Harper came in and was running against Chrétien in whatever that would have been, 2000, he was in for 8 years, 2015. Would it have been 2003? I
don't know.
Yeah, maybe, right? 2003, 2000, somewhere around there. But yeah, he said he voted for Harper, and he was saying it was the same thing. Everybody was just sick of Chrétien, he had a bunch of scandals, and there was enough things that people were upset about that a bunch of people who typically voted Liberal voted Conservative. And it's just like, it's like the Canadian way now is we're always swinging every 9 or 8 years. We get sick of the guy and we throw him overboard.
Yeah, sorry. But anyways, I just had to distract some background stuff going on. I'm going to end the stream now. We'll be back in about 20 minutes with a new stream where we're going to be reacting just to the question period. So thanks everybody for watching the stream, for watching this, and we'll see you in a little bit, in like 20 minutes or so.